What is up, all you beautiful, wonderful YouTube people? Team Badman here, and we are back with another edition of Bad Builds, where we discuss the decks that we have been working on here in Team Badman, so that you can get an idea of what we're messing around with, some of the ideas we've got in our builds, and hopefully give you some ideas of what you guys may want to include in some of your own builds. One of the masteries that got a little bit more spotlight this time around when Evolution was released was the Saiyan style mastery, which took a complete and utter paradigm shift from this constantly anger gaining mastery that prevents you from winning by MPPV to a mastery that not only allowed you to win by MPPV but helped you gain anger with every successful styled attack and lowered your anger requirement for MPPV, which gives you two completely opposite options now for Saiyan. You can go the continued speed level route and get up to level 4 as fast as you can, or you can try for a little bit more of a camp-oriented approach, or perhaps MPPV if that's what fits your fancy. This became obvious with some very common MP choices, which were almost a little kind of gimmick-oriented originally. You've got the Saiyan Red, its Menace Loop is a perfect example. Or you've got Saiyan God Goku, which would use its level 1 power as much as possible, and then when Empowered Mastery forced it up to 2, you could use Goku's level 2 power to level it back down. But with the new mastery out, there's a lot more experimentation with just level camping, using the new rampaging mastery, and not so much worried about this speed leveling kind of idea. With set 4 out, it does raise the question, is there still a place for the old Saiyan empowered mastery, and will it have some kind of value in the current metagame? Here at Team Badman, we do have someone who's fortunately been messing around with that for you. Michael Showalter has put together a Saiyan God Goku set 4 Goku stack deck, along with the old Saiyan Empowered Mastery. Now, it sounds a little bit crazy, especially considering the new set 4 stack is oriented around allies, and two of the things you wouldn't exactly want to put together are Saiyan and allies, but it does have a very interesting approach to it, and there are a lot of really cool ideas that you may want to consider for yourself. So I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to let Mike go on ahead and describe his deck to you, and hopefully you'll get some pretty cool ideas out of it. And without further ado, here's Mike Showalter. Michael, take it away.
Alright, so what I've been playing with is a Saiyan God Goku with the old mastery, the empowered mastery. I feel that it gives some pretty awesome stage gain in a meta game where stages are an all-time value. And starting off with it, first and foremost is Saiyan Goku. He is easily the most terrifying to be sitting across from as far as power levels go. He's the only person who can hit F right from the game. And with the mastery getting you constant stages, it's very, very easy to keep you high up. So I guess I'll briefly go over what each personality brings to the table, or each level-wise. We all know what Goku does. He gets F on level 1. His power gets you an extra card in hand. So very early on, I'm definitely coming at you with card advantage. If I win the dice roll and I get a Saiyan Double Drop in my hand, I'm almost guaranteed to go to combat, just because I'm guaranteed 2-3 attacks. It's so hard to, blocking on is just being able to block so many physical attacks right from the beginning of the game is not easy to do. It can definitely put your opponent on the wrong foot. They have to play the defensive game to get their stages back. Anytime my attacks are connecting, their anger is, my stage is going up, my anger is already going up automatically. So it just definitely swings momentum early. Goku can just keep you from having terrible combats just by virtue of his high power levels and his extra card in hand. So really I'm just using him to get to level 2. As soon as you get to level 2, and before we had the new Goku, the old Goku was easily the hardest part about running a Saiyan deck, is you had to hit his level 2. His level 2, you went from being in F and E and D almost all the time to capping out at C, and you did not have action in combat, so you definitely felt a noticeable power drop when you get that level 2. Now with the new Goku, his power scale is almost exactly the same as Goku. He won't hit F, but at 4 above, they're both in the same bracket. At 6 above, they're both in the same bracket. You're missing out a couple of brackets, just because he's Super Saiyan God, he's stronger. But a Goku does add a 2 life card buff to every attack you throw. more than makes up for a power level or two that you're missing out on because it hits the opponent on two fronts. You're worried about their stages, and any attack that hits also chips away at their life card, which again is how you're going to win. You want to keep chipping until they're out. There's nothing left to chip. So you might be on Goku 2 for a little while because again he has no actual action on his personality level, but the deck levels very quickly and it extends combat a bit. If you've been lucky enough to get an ally out, you can possibly take advantage of them. And as soon as you hit level 3, that's when the game starts to shift and your opponent doesn't even realize it. Because I do not prioritize allies in this deck early game at all. I don't even run overpower and attack. If they get banished or destroyed, they're gone. I don't care. Because once you hit Goku level 3, he brings a free energy attack. Up to this point, he probably blocked, trying to prioritize the physical blocks, try to keep the stages together so they can figure out a game plan. So Goku level 3 brings in an energy attack that you don't see coming. It's completely free, so it does not lower your attack table just for using it. And it does 6 life cards. It pulls any of my allies out. I can tailor to the situation. That ally can even make actions, so even if I'm still at full, so I'm keeping my E bracket constantly, my allies can still make their own actions. So if I bring in an energy attacking ally, you now have to block an energy attack, plus all my super strong physical attacks that I'm still throwing out. So it definitely throws them off their game. Then once you hit level 4, you lose that action, but Goku's level 4 is so ridiculous that it's kind of okay. Because you can designate one ally each turn to make unlimited actions, and every attack they throw makes 4 extra life cards. So it's actually, I've done before where I've thrown physical attacks, and I would rather Yamcha take control of combat, just because he doesn't hit as hard stage-wise, but that 4 extra life card buff is stupid, and it hurts. And especially if I can start throwing some of those crushing beams or cheap shots while I'm on level 4, and when my allies can do it, that's a energy attack for 10 life cards you have to banish all of the damage from. So if I've used Dig before that, it's 10 straight banish. That's 1/6 of your life deck. Each energy attack's thrown. It's crazy. It's fun. And because the deck is very much the mixed attacking deck once you hit level 4. Because all the cards in hand are probably going to be physical outside of a few rogue energies. But I've got 2 or 3 allies that do their energy attacks on board most of the time. You can try to banish them, but Goku can leave pull from banished, so I don't care if you banish them. It's what people want the blue tag team mastery to do. He just pulls them right back in. So you're throwing your energy attacks, you're throwing physical attacks, and it's a very overwhelming, straightforward beats deck. So how it works is at the beginning of the game, I run several physical attacks just to keep that pressure right from the get-go. Starting with the most obvious of 3 Saiyan elbow strikes, that card, or Saiyan elbow drops, that card just does so much. Definitely got to include it. Being able to swing 2 times for 2 anger, or being able to just hit hard, very useful. Saiyan spin kick would be the next 3 of. Run 3 of that. Again, it helps get you some extra anger. It's a 2 anger card with the mastery. A little bit of anger control, which is desperately needed. Can destroy an ally, which in an ally heavy metagame that we're shaping up to be very good utility. Plus the 2 endurance is super solid. 2 Saiyan gut kicks, because I love the card. It sets up so much combo potential. 3 of is a bit excessive because deck space is so tight anymore. Same with Saiyan clothesline. I love the card coming off God Q. You get the dream scenario where you're an F, they're an A, you're hitting for like 15 stages of damage. When you double that attack table, it's beautiful. Still, again, very excessive. Definitely more of a win more card. So it's good to have it to close out a game, but running 3 of it's too attractive, especially because I'm also running 3 of the shoulder slams, which is the AT plus AT. So it's just about as hard to say in clothesline every single time. Plus it has endurance. Plus I'm running these in place of wall breaker, because that lowering anger 3 is about as good as I'm going to get. I don't run much anger tech aside from the shoulder slam and the spin kicks, so being able to just control that anger and burst, it's a 4 anger swing, it's crazy. I run 2 rapid slams in the Saiyan, just because it is, I think, one of their only AT plus 5 cards, so you hit them strong, you hit them hard, and you recycle your attacks, which is a big theme for the deck. Is you want to constantly, anytime someone goes to combat with you or you go to combat with them, you want to be able to just out-attack them. you're hitting them by a number of actions, which is harder to do in Hero Saiyan than it is for villains because we don't have the back smash and we don't have Saiyan Grab, which is a natural combat extender. So anything we can to just keep up constant pressure instead, I definitely like to do. Running 3 of Saiyan left kicks does a lot for the deck. Again, it's a 2-anger card with a mastery. It has endurance. Plus, it hits straight from the life card damages. So I like being able to stage lock, but it's not the main goal. It's just an added benefit. So being able to hit straight from, D to E to F bracket plus 4 life cards definitely takes a chunk out of the deck. Can pressure them. And the final physical attacks, the final honest physical attacks are 3 Saiyan direct strikes, just because endurance plus 4 is crazy. Plus different stages and life cards, so very solid all-around card. As far as blocks go, it's 4 blocks of each, plus 2 Omni blocks in time. I run 3 of the Saiyan wrist blocks because it's my favorite physical block in the game. I miss having the endurance ones from the older sets that have anger as well, but being able to keep their stages down is fantastic, so I can exploit my attack table much better because Goku has one of the most attractive attack tables on all levels. And then the 4th, I need more physical blocks because I'm not sure where the meta is currently. I do have allies to soak up the stages, but a lot of the most terrifying decks that I've seen lately have been physical, so throwing an extra physical is just Saiyan Lightning Dodge. Does the same thing as Saiyan Wrist Block, but to a minimum of 0, so they can't discard cards, so that's kind of a bummer. We'll bridge that going into the events. I say honest physical attacks because I run 3 Saiyan Interruptions, which more often than not is an actual attack. You can discard from your hand for a flat 5 stages. Flat stage damage is very attractive in this meta because of Android 18. Also, I run 2 digs. They're in a different deck, so I'll skip right over them. There are 2 I'll dig your graves because that card's the best. But so 3 Saiyan Interruptions, flat stage damage, and then being able to skip basically a combat ending scenario has proven clutch in the past. Both, even if your opponent knows you have it, if you pull with Visiting in the Past, your opponent knows you have it in their hand, it makes them double think if they're going to try to end combat because they get punished, it makes them skip their action. Plus, one of the biggest ways to shut this deck down is just to be able to control combat. So if you have an out to their out, it's like a sphere for that black power up, and it's so good. Also, as far as events, we run one heroic sphere, partially because that's all I own, partially because that's all I need. I run 2 Saiyan drive-bys. I love the card to death. I ran 3 of them in my old build. I could not bring myself to take it out because it does a little bit of everything. It's definitely a life deck swing because they're destroying cards off the top of their deck depending on your anger, which in this deck, the anger ramp is insane. So it's very common to get from 1 to 2. Like, every level, every combat, you have potential to go up at least 1 level. If you got Saiyan and Raid, easily 2 levels that combat. But so the anger gain is the same, so you can pretty much choose when you want to trigger drive-by for maximum damage. They lose, on average, 2 to 3 cards off the top of their deck. You get a card with endurance, put right back on top. If you use it at the end of combat, you can easily set up Saiyan Direct Strike, so you can hit hard next time, or if you're just getting your butt handed to you, you can stack anything with endurance 2, 3, or 4 on top. It definitely softens the blow. Plus, you get a rejuvenate a card of your choice, which selected rejuvenation is very, very powerful. There's that. Thomas Warrior's Tool. I do run 1 Saiyan Rescue. The only way I have to tutor it are a couple of outrages because it's not important to the deck strategy. But it's such a good card and it's so easy to splash in that 1 of does not hurt. No way to draw it because it's not even dead in combat. You can still play it from your hand in combat. I run 2 Confrontations because the deck is a mixed attacking deck, so sometimes it's just very important to be able to pick out the block that they don't need, or that they do need either way. Also, hand knowledge, Confrontations, not really to be explained. So like I said, I am a mixed energy attacking deck. I do run 7 energy attacks, which are 2 Crushing Beams because it's high damage, it's got endurance, it's not styled, which I hate because I don't get the anger off the rejuve, I don't get the anger when I attack with it. But the card does so much, you can easily make an exception for it. You can use it over and over and over, it shuffles right back in unconditionally. And plus, it is the only way I have to actually banish cards from the discard pile currently in the deck. So, just being able to damage it out with Crushing Beam and Saiyan Cheap Shot, I run 2 of that as well. just being able to constantly banish that stuff before they have a chance to save it is more powerful than people realize. I also run 2 Pret Balls because it's Hero's Ace card. Being able to pull a styled event is invaluable, really, especially if you've been using Saiyan Interruption. You attack with that 5 stages. Next action, use Pret Ball, pull that right back in. At 10 stages, right off the bat, you can still have stuff in hand. Your MP can still have actions. It's terrifying. You can also, someone having the damaged out, your Saiyan Outrage, easily pull that back in to save it for another use. And being able to even abuse Drive-By a couple different times in combat is very terrifying. Stack your deck. It's a very good utility card. It is banished after use. Its damage is amp, but the powers that it extends combat, which is definitely something this deck appreciates. The more actions you make, the more disheartened your opponent feels. It's a morale boost.
As far as energy blocks go, I do have 2 Saiyan hand swipes. I think I changed that. Yeah, I'm going to change that. That's right. I do want to eventually run 3 Saiyan hand swipes. That's the Endurance 3, stops energy attack. On my next attack does a 3 life card damage. So again, just furthers my win condition of survival, and that Endurance 3 is not to be taken lightly. It's so hard to knock down a Saiyan deck. And then 1 of Saiyan Energy Deflection, Raise My Anger 1, Endurance 2, just solid all around. Mostly what I looked for was Endurance in the blocks, just because, again, survival is my only way to win, so it's very important I don't lose by survival. 9 times out of 10, what I will lose to is MPVV, or I guess Dragon Ball Victory for the decks that are still running that.
As far as that, I do run a couple of setups. Because I'm also an ally deck, which I'll go into in just a bit, I try to keep the setups as slim as possible. So it's only 1 BTP, only 2 Saiyan Outraged, and then 2 Saiyan Intimidations just for the flat stage board control that Saiyan so desperately needs. Saiyan Enraged, especially because I can't MPPV anyway, it's not a 3-up card, because once I'm at level 4, I'm only using it to get a small amount of rejuve and drawing a card, which unless you're facing a heavy anger control blue deck, you're going to be a level 4 by mid-game easy with this deck. So I love jumping. Saiyan Rage is easily one of my favorite cards. Will not make a Saiyan deck without it.
Speaking of non-combats, I do run the new Gokus level 2 through 4, which are very ally-centric, so I'll go quickly over the allies I run and why I run them. The first ally that I normally pull in a given scenario is Tien, 9 out of 10 times, because especially if I can pull it, it's probably pretty early game if I don't have him on the board. I want him on the board, because he throws an energy attack for a couple of life cards, 3 life cards, but more importantly, he's a combat extender. If he hits, he draws another card, so you're either having to block Tien or you're getting a free card in hand, which, because I run so many combat cards in the deck, that odds are it's just another attack I can use. So Tien definitely facilitates that overwhelming aspect of the deck. His partner in crime is Yamcha. If I'm not pulling Tien, I'm probably pulling Yamcha, depending on the kind of deck that I'm going against. Yamcha is my main board control option outside of those random Saiyan Intimidations. Just because he can shuffle anything into the deck right off an attack. So as long as it hits, it's fantastic. And if it doesn't hit, then you just had to block a 3 attack card from Yamcha, so that's really depressing for you. Korin is just as good in Saiyan as he is as Namekian, because 9 times out of 10, you're still getting anger off that rejuve card. I try to keep the non-style card as much as possible to try to keep it down in this deck. So Korin definitely helps my survival victory game, because that is my literal only win condition. I can't get PvP, and I don't run any Dragon Balls, so I'm only going to win by beating your face in, so I need to keep my life deck full as well. Korin gets me an anger and bridges that life card gap, so it's hard to knock me out as possible. It's a very solid ally. Also run Krillin was a recent addition I added, just because a lot of especially orange decks, the ones that are running Orange Driving Drill, which is a very underappreciated card when it comes to the ally tech. Allies not being able to make actions definitely hurts me once I reach level 4, because I've been normally counting on their damage buff that Goku level 4 can give them. So he makes all of their attacks do +4 for that combat, +4 life cards, which is just heavy, it's huge, it hurts. But if they can't make actions, then you can't do anything. So Krillin with the drill control definitely helps. It also lets me not enter combat and still have a goal. If I have Drill on the board, I can definitely pass a Rejuve, gain an Anger, and Spore Drill. So it punishes them for not going to combat with me, and then this deck punishes you for going to combat with me, because on average it hits just hard and often, and it's so hard to catch me on a dead hand. And then latest addition was also Vegeta. I did add that in over one of my Saiyan Outrages, thanks to Erik himself. He was talking to me about it. We did not... Vegeta missing definitely was weird, because I run 3 Outrages, except now it's down to 2. Outrage, again, only attached card I have in the deck is Saiyan Rescue, and it's not vital. So losing one Omni Block for another, especially one that can't be sphered, is a very solid call. Plus, Vegeta has an attack, so if I'm ever facing a beatdown deck and Goku loses stages, or if Android 20 is doing his stage drain shenanigans, I have another out with an attacking ally, so always solid, very good. Alright, so that's basically the deck. I've been running Saiyan Goku since set 1, and this is the first time that it actually feels like a good deck. But most of the time I just used to run it, try to abuse Goku's high power levels back when we still had Yamcha and back when we still had Raditz and, Tien as MPs. Goku definitely had a power level advantage, but he never really had the means to exploit it. So level 4 was very useless in Saiyan, just realistically. And his level 2 barely helped in Saiyan as well. So set 4 brought a lot of stronger, personality levels. It brought the ally aspect, which is very interesting with this mastery, because the mastery gives stages to allies too. So overall, it is just the beatdown deck that a lot of people always wanted Saiyan to be, because you can just constantly throw in attacks. Not always, you're not just throwing attacks to throw attacks. There's intelligence of when to throw your attacks, but it's definitely, an unrelenting deck. There's very few times you get drawn into combat that you regret it. So it just keeps the pressure on. I love it. It plays fantastically. So that's it.
And that is Mike's Saiyan-empowered Saiyan God Goku build. It's an odd combination that you wouldn't think about, as I mentioned earlier, but there's something really kind of cool about the idea. And I think with the new Goku stack, giving a little bit more consistency on power levels and, including some pretty solid attacks along with it, that it's not actually a terrible idea for a Saiyan-style deck, especially with access to some fantastic allies, which Mike mentioned, and some great powers at the higher levels. It could be a bit of a fun surprise to try out in your locals, or to try out maybe for a smaller scale event. I can't attest to how it may do on the regional scene, but I would absolutely love to be surprised. So that is it for this episode of Bad Builds. If you guys liked it, go on ahead and click the like button down below. If you guys didn't like it, then click the dislike button down below and leave a comment in the comments section below. We would love to hear feedback from you guys. We are always looking for it, always looking to improve and change for you guys. Also, if you haven't already, go on ahead and click the subscribe button down below. We do have a whole lot coming up in the future. New episodes of Bad Builds. We've got a couple new table talks lined up. We've got some exciting new matches planned with some of the new Set 4 MPs and masteries, so you guys should definitely keep an eye out for that. And we've got a couple extra little special things planned. Got a little something, so be sure to keep an eye out on the channel for whatever we got coming in the future. I think you guys will really like it. And like always, guys, stay bad. Thanks for watching.